You're sitting in a doctor's office, and there is a clipboard in your lap. Somewhere near the bottom of the form, between your height and whether your father had heart trouble, there's a small blank line with a small blunt question next to it. How many sexual partners have you had? And you pause. You do the quiet arithmetic everyone does, and then you write down a number. Here's the strange part. If you are a man, you almost certainly round it up. If you are a woman, you almost certainly round it down. And I can prove that to you, with nothing but counting. You probably think that question has a real answer, a true number sitting somewhere in your past. It does. But almost every number you have ever heard about it, yours, the surveys, the deep human past, has been quietly bent by something. And once you see by what, the whole question gets stranger. Start with the lie in the surveys, because it is the cleanest. In 2013, a team led by Catherine Mercer at University College London published the biggest sex survey Britain had ever run. 15,000 people. It is called Natsal, and the numbers came out clean and confident. The average British man reported 14 lifetime partners. The average British woman reported 7. Men, twice as many as women. Every survey ever done in every country finds some version of this same gap. And it is impossible. Picture the whole country as one room. Every time a man gains an opposite-sex partner, a woman gains one too. It is the same event, counted from two sides. Add it all up, and the total for men and the total for women have to be the exact same total. Same people, same encounters. So the average has to be identical, not close. Identical. A population where men average double the women is as impossible as a village where every husband is taller than his own wife. So the gap is not behavior. The gap is the telling. In 2019, a follow-up study picked the numbers apart. Men, it turns out, tend to estimate, around 20. Women tend to count 1, 2, 3. Men round toward a number that feels impressive. Women round toward one that feels safe. Cap the show-offs at the top, adjust for estimating versus counting. Adjust for how each sex feels they are allowed to answer. And 2/3 of that giant gap simply evaporates. It was never in the bedroom. It was in the pen, on the clipboard, in your hand. So the modern number lies. Fine. Then surely the ancient number is honest. Surely before forms and shame, people just were what they were. Let us go and look. There's a picture people carry of the deep past, and it comes in 2 flavors. One is the caveman with a club, dragging one woman to one cave, monogamous and grim. The other is the opposite, a warm prehistoric orgy. Everyone with everyone, no jealousy, invented by a popular 2010 book called Sex at Dawn. Anthropologists who actually live with hunter-gatherers will tell you both pictures are wrong. Frank Marlowe spent years with the Hadza of Tanzania, one of the last true foraging peoples. What he found was not a club and not an orgy. It was divorce. The Hadza mostly pair up one at a time, and then often they split and pair up again with someone else. Roughly 1/3 of marriages end in the first few years. The same shows up among the Kung, the Aka, forager after forager. The honest word for the ancient default is not monogamy, and it is not free love. It is serial monogamy. One partner at a time, several times a life. So a Stone Age person might have had a handful of partners across the years, much like you. Case closed? No, because I have been quietly cheating. Everything so far has been about who people paired with. It has told you nothing about who actually left children. And those are not the same number. Not even close. Here's a fact you can check inside your own body. You have DNA that traces only your mother's mother's mother, going straight back, the mitochondrial line. And if you are male, you have a Y chromosome tracing only your father's father's father. Geneticists have read both, for thousands of people, and counted backward. And the 2 family trees do not match. Down the female line, our ancestors are many. Down the male line, they are few. Across human history, more women than men have children who reach us. Roughly, and the exact ratio is argued over, about twice as many. Sit with that. The number of your grandmothers and the number of your grandfathers should be equal. They are not. Somewhere back there, a lot of men left no one at all, while a smaller club of men fathered most of the next generation, and the women were spread among them. And now, the part nobody expects. You would guess this inequality was worst in the brutal Stone Age and got gentler as we grew civilized. It is the other way around. In 2015, a team led by Monica Carmen sequenced hundreds of Y chromosomes and found a scar in the male line. Around 7,000 years ago, not in the Ice Age, but just after farming spread across the world, the number of men who were fathering children collapsed. At the low point, for every man passing on his line, there were up to 17 women passing on theirs. 17. The mother line shows nothing. No matching crash. It happened to men only. Y is one of the great open fights in the field. Carmen's team suspected a few powerful men monopolizing reproduction. In 2018, a Stanford group argued something colder. Whole male family lines, entire patriline clans, wiped each other out in generations of war. So vast branches of the tree of fathers simply ended. Nobody has won that argument yet. But notice when it happened. Not around the campfire, around the first fences. Which brings us to the strangest societies of all, and to your question about many men at once. Go to the lowlands of the Amazon. Among peoples like the Bari of Venezuela and the Ashe of Paraguay, there is a belief that a baby is not made in one act by one man. It is built, layer by layer, from the semen of every man the mother sleeps with during the pregnancy. So a child does not have a father. A child has fathers, plural. And this is not a scandal there. It is on the record, out loud. Anthropologists call it partible paternity, and it shows up across a large share of lowland South American cultures. And here's the part that should stop you. It worked. Stephen Beckerman studied the Bari and found that a child with one main father and one recognized secondary father survived to grow up about 80% of the time. A child with only a single father, 65. Among the Ashe, where the great danger was violence, an extra father meant an extra protector, and the survival gap ran the same way. In those worlds, a woman having several partners was not betrayal. It was insurance. She was buying her child more men who would bring meat and stand between it and a raid. Now hold all of it in your head at once. Serial pairing. Twice as many grandmothers as grandfathers. A crash in the male line after farming. Whole cultures where fatherhood was deliberately shared. And ask the obvious question. Where in any of that is the one man, one woman, one lifetime that you were taught is simply how humans are? It is not there, because that was never the natural human state. It was an invention, and we can almost date it. Anthropologists have a catalog of societies, and something like 85% of them, across history, have permitted a man more than one wife. Strict monogamy as a rule. One spouse, enforced for everyone, is rare, and it is recent. In 2012, Joseph Henrich laid out the puzzle. Why did a handful of societies impose a rule that seems to work against the strongest men? And his answer points at the same moment as that scar in the Y chromosome: farming. The instant you can own a field, you need to know who inherits it. And to know who inherits it, you need to know whose child it truly is. Suddenly, a woman's body is not just hers. It is a channel through which land passes to a verified heir. Marriage, walls, dowries, veils, virginity is a prize. A wife's affair is a crime, and a husband's shrugged away. All of it grows from one anxious question that only mattered once there was property to lose. Whose child is this? So, the double standard you have felt your whole life is not ancient wisdom. It is Neolithic accounting. And now, look back down at the clipboard in your lap. That number you wrote, you think it is a fact about your life. It is not. It is a fact about the last 10,000 years. The instinct that made you a man, round up towards status. A smaller club of well-regarded men once did most of the fathering, and some old part of you still wants into that club. The instinct that made you, a woman, round down towards safety. A 7,000-year-old rule about whose field this is, still whispering what you are allowed to have been. Even the single, certain name on your birth certificate. The one father. Most of the humans who ever lived would have found that strange, and a few of them would have called it dangerous for the child. So what is the true number for a person 50,000 years ago? The honest answer is that we do not know, and we may never. Our genes are brutal accountants. They record who left descendants and nothing else. They can tell you that fewer men than women became someone's ancestor. They cannot tell you how many people any of those humans actually held in the dark, and those were never the same number. One of them we can still read faintly in your blood. The other one, who they wanted, who they lost, who they lay beside and made no child with, left no trace at all. It is simply gone. There is a form on a clipboard and a small blank line, and you write down a number. It feels like a confession, a quiet, true fact about you. It is really a number about everyone who came before you, almost none of whom left any record of who they loved, only whether in the end they left anyone at all.